Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me. Since I am going to be doing some traveling starting the end of next week, I thought it would be nice to visit a travel photo, and this is something common that can happen to you particularly when you're in a town where you have really high contrast images, and how do you make sure they're going to work out okay? Now, I faintly remember taking this image. In fact, let's see, when was this? This was in 2017. This is in Siena, Italy, by the way. And apparently I took it with my exposure based on this really bright sky up here. And if you look underneath the histogram, you can see almost 99s all the way across, which means it is really bright. But 99 is not 100, which means it can be brought back. So if you go ahead and trust your histogram in your camera, make sure the highlights are not actually clipping. There's a good chance you're going to be able to bring back everything you want. So I exposed because there was something in here apparently I wanted to keep. In fact, if you come up top here, even at the 99%, you can see there's some blue in here. So apparently there were clouds with some blue sky that I wanted to maintain. So let's go through the process and make that happen. First of all, I'm going to bring the highlights all the way down. Well, that looks pretty terrible, doesn't it? But that's going to allow us to bring up everything else. So I'm going to bring up the shadows all the way, basically highlights all the way down, shadows all the way up, reduce the contrast in the image. Now the resulting exposure looks really dark, so let's just bring that up because we have a lot of latitude now. And so how about that? Just by moving those sliders, we went to here from there. So obviously there's something here. So let's go ahead and do some other basic edits first, and then we'll see how we can make it a little bit of a better photograph. I'm going to bring up the texture, which is very fine detail sharpening. Clarity is mid-range sharpening. You can see the clarity adds some definition, some separation in those midtones. Dehaze, there actually is a little haze up in the sky. Not sure I want to do it to the whole image. Let's take a look. Now, I'm going to hold off on that. Let's go ahead and add some vibrance, which will bring out that blue sky. You can see it's starting to come in now. And we'll add some overall saturation to the scene as well. Color temperature wise, how does it look? I think this alley should be maybe a little warmer. Let's bring the blue over. Yeah, it was more of kind of that kind of terracotta color. All right, that's looking a lot better. Now the sky, it's looking a little hazy up here. It could even just be a flare. Let's see what happens if we can select the sky. So I'll click on the mask and select sky, and son of a gun, it actually sees that as the sky, which is good to know because we can use that in a couple different ways. Let's go ahead and add a bunch of dehaze to that, and that was really starting to bring out the clouds a little bit. We don't need it sharpened or anything. I'm not completely thrilled with the color. It's kind of a cyanish color, which means it's gone a little bit green. So let's bring the blue over, and we'll put a little magenta back in too. Now, I don't want the sky to become the subject. That's a danger also because you have this one thing up there. So I'm going to actually bring the saturation down a little bit. We want it to be blue, but I don't want it to be so blue. It's something that really drags your eye. Now, knowing that we can get this sky also lets us see that we can sharpen up or dehaze just this area around here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a new mask. This is one of the cool things about the latest Lightroom masking abilities. We're going to create a new mask with a brush. And I'm going to leave auto mask on. I'm going to get a nice big brush. And this is the area I want, around here. And notice as I do this, it goes around the sky. And do I need any more down here? Yeah, maybe down in here as well. I think that's pretty good. Let's see if that's going to do it. So let's scroll down here to dehaze and see if dehaze will add a little bit of crispness to that, and that solved the problem. That actually worked out pretty well. Now there's something in here. Let's go and get a new mask again. We'll create a new mask with a brush again. Let's just select this thing in here. And I'd like to bring down the exposure of that a little bit. Oh, there's some blue sky in there too. So let's make that a little bluer. I don't want to make a big deal of it. I don't want it to become something that you're going to really want to look at in detail. and I can live with that. And again, we started with this, and that's where we are right now. So how can we maybe even make it a little bit of a better photograph, a little bit of, I don't know, tightness to it to really make the viewer go down? Now, this image is pretty sharp. Let's zoom in. I'm going to zoom in to 100%. So I'll click on here and come down to the street. And you can see when that draws in, well, heck, you can clearly read the license plate on that car. So this image is nice and sharp. We brought this up a lot, though. Those shadows were really almost black. So we're going to take advantage of Lightroom's new Denoise. So let's scroll down to detail. Going to go to the detail panel here, and notice it says, since again we're dealing with a raw file, denoise, the noise reduction, is an option. So let's click on that. And I have mine default set for 66. If you've never touched with this, it comes in at 50%. Let's see what 66 does. And it's going to show us a zoomed in version on this window here as soon as it's finished. All right, so here's our image, and we can scroll around and see where we want to look. Actually, the problems were, oh, there's a lot of noise in there. You see the walls there, how it has all the color noise in there? But look at the difference before and after, how it got rid of all that color noise. That's awesome. Now let's come into the side walls, and look how noisy they got. Now that's beyond 100%, but you can see all the color noise from bringing those deep shadows up. But we'll let go and let it do its thing with the denoise, and that's pretty amazing. Now you have a button over here, do you want to create a stack? That will just take your new image that it's going to create. It's going to create a DNG with the denoise applied and put it over top of your old image. That's up to you. I like to have them next to each other, so I'm going to turn that off. So then you just click on Enhance, and what Lightroom does is it takes that denoise and it creates a new file for you. All right, so here's our new denoised file. And is there anything else? Now, is this perfectly straight up and down or as straight as it needs to be? Let's hit R to bring up the rulers. That gives us some lines. If I click on or off the bottom corner, I can rotate this to see if there are any lines that are offending. Now, this is an old medieval curvy kind of alley anyway, so probably not a big deal. I think maybe just a little bit, just like that much. And that looks plenty straight. But let's look at the scene. Now, there's some kind of interesting, I don't know, horse tattoo decal on the side of this building. So I think I want to keep that. But this wall over here is pretty strong. I think I'd like to crop this vertically a little bit more. And the shape I'm thinking to make it easy to print is an 11 by 17. So let's go to where it says original and click, and here I made 11 by 17 as a custom. Why? 11 by 17 is a standard frame size. And it's not a big deal. It's just going to trim a little bit of it off. And I'm going to just bring this up a little because the walkway here is a little strong as well. Let's just take a little of its power away by making it a little smaller. I don't want to lose any of the sky. I don't want to get rid of that. Oh, I see one other thing we have to fix. But I think something about like that. Now I'm going to come all the way up to the top as well. Now, one of the things I was looking for was this diagonal. I don't want the diagonal to end exactly in a corner, because if you do that, it has a tendency to drag you out of the image. Let me show you an example. So if I were to say, I don't know, crop it like this and have that diagonal go exactly into the corner of the image. Let me do that and I'll undo it. Now, diagonals, which are typically leading lines, when they go exactly into a corner, when they come exactly into a corner like this, they have a tendency to actually lead the eye out of the image. We want to lead the viewer into the image. So let's not do that. I do want to keep all my sky. And I'm going to come up a little bit off of the bottom. And I think about there, I'm going to put the opening in the archway on my left strong point. And I think something like that. Now, two things I see. There's, because of the brightness that was coming through here, there's a little flare here. So let's go to masking again. I'm going to create a new mask again with a brush. And let's choose this archway up here. I think something like that. That's pretty good. And let's add a little bit of dehaze to that. We scroll down and we'll add our dehaze there. It actually needs a bit, and I think we're going to need to come in and make the shadows a little darker as well. So let's go to shadows. Yeah, I think something like that, and maybe some clarity as well. Let's add some clarity and some texture. Okay, that made that a little bit darker. I think that's a little bit better, so let's hit enter on that. Now let's go ahead and add a vignette to this entire thing. So that's under effects. My favorite number for vignettes is around -12. I like that. Now I like how it darkened the edges. It does lead you more down to these archways, but this has gotten maybe a little dark. So we're going to add one more mask. And the mask I'm after for this, and this is my personal preference, you can do it other ways, but I'm going to add a radial gradient just by dragging this big oval here. Now it's coming at an angle, so I'm going to rotate the oval a little bit, something like that, and bring up the exposure a little bit more. Now I don't want to make the highlights too bright. I want to open up the middle tones. So let's bring that up. Yeah, I think something like that. We'll let the brights come up a little bit. And I like it. Do we want maybe a little more saturation to the entire image? Let's check. Let's come up to basic again. Let's add some more saturation. Yeah, I do like that better. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. So let's take a look and see what it is that we started with. Let's go back to our original. Here's our original raw file, and you would think, yeah, no way, that's a keeper. But in reality, again, the highlights were exposed to protect the sky, and everything was still there because we just took this file this quickly and turned it into that. And now we have a really nice image of a very interesting alleyway in Siena, Italy. So that's today's demo. Hope you enjoyed that. Remember, protect your highlights and be amazed what else you can bring back. Thanks for joining me. I wish you a great week, and I'll see you online again soon. Bye-bye.